Wanted to give you a quick video on using database resident connection pooling, DRCP, Oracle database, and Node.js's node-oracledb driver. My name is Christopher Jones. I'm a product manager in the Oracle database group. So I have a window split here into 4. We're just going to run through a little bit of a script on the top left. First thing to do is to connect to your database. So let me just cut and paste from top to bottom left. Whoops. Try and cut the right thing, and connecting as sysdba. Notice we're connecting here to the container database. So when we're using DRCP with Oracle Database 19c, there is only one database connection pool, and it's managed at the container level. DRCP is not running, so it's inactive at the moment. We can do some kind of configuration if we like. We can reset defaults, which I don't need to do. Let's just bump up a couple of the parameters. So we have a technical brief out there which has a lot of information about what these parameters do. Number of connection brokers by default is 1, so that's relatively small. We do recommend increasing that. You can use a fixed size pool if you like and bump this up, but the sizes really do depend on the load that you're going to be throwing at the system. I'm just arbitrarily choosing some sizes here, and we can check that those sizes are reflected in the database information. From Oracle Database 21c and 19.10, you can also bump up something called the authentication service. If you've got a lot of people connecting to the database, there'll be some authentications going on if processes are starting and stopping. You may need to bump that up. The defaults here are 25, so that's quite high, and prior to this it was even higher, 50. We now let you choose and set these values. For various reasons, these need to be set as what we call init.ora parameters, the database system parameters. So you can set those and then start up your database. Startup force is going to kick everybody off, so just be a little careful of that. My database is an older 19c version, so I can't show you this live. Start the pool, that's all we need to do. And then we can just check the status, and it's active now, gone from inactive. Next thing we need to do is get some kind of application. So we've got some sample applications out there on our GitHub repository. So I've copied those across, and I have the web app, and I've copied across a couple of files that it needs. Web app is pretty simple. Starts a connection pool, create pool, various configuration parameters can be set. We generally recommend pools use a fixed size client connection pool. For this demo, it doesn't really matter, but just best practice would be to do that. And then the key thing here for database resident connection pooling is we want to set this thing called connection class to an arbitrary application string. This determines a kind of level of sharing of session information on the database side. So for any process which is running the same application with the same kinds of session information, the same NLS state, you would, for all of those applications, set the same class name. If you had a completely different application, you would choose a second class name for those processes running for that application. We can then set some connection strings and credentials. Notice here I'm now connecting into the pluggable database, so PDB1, the default pluggable database for this database, and I'm requesting a pooled connection. This is the easy connect syntax. Equivalent syntax that exists if you're using a tnsnames.ora file or connect descriptor. So copying from left to right, I'm going to run the application. It's going to run. The application, which I didn't show you, creates a pool, starts a web server, node web server process, and then for every user request which comes in, we just do a simple query. Nothing too fancy there. Let's look at putting the application under load. So I go to another shell and copy across this. I'm running the Apache benchmark tool, so I'm copying from left to bottom right, increasing the font size a little bit for you. And so I'm going to call, as an end user, call my application 100 times, concurrency of 4, which matches the connection pool size I happen to choose here, using the same URL for each test. That's not particularly relevant. And that has run nicely. So then we can go back and we can check the connection stats. So on the bottom left, I'm already connected to SQL+, don't need to do that again. And we can query this $v connection class stats, SQL connection class stats, and I'll increase that a little bit for you. If I can get the mouse to work, there you go. And you can see that we made 101 requests. The extra one was for some initialization of the app for creating a schema. We had what we call hits and misses when the application made get connection requests. So if I go back to the application, you can see here we have a get connection, do some work, and at the end there's a close. So every time there's a get connection, and the number of requests was increased. A hit is a good thing in this case. This is maximum sharing of that session information. So we didn't have to recreate any of the session state, didn't have to do any allocations and resetting. Number of misses 4, well, when the pool starts up, there's no connections being used, so those first 4 are going to be counted as misses. You might see some other misses in your actual day-to-day runs of applications, but the general goal is to keep the number of hits big, so the ratio is quite good. And that's it to using DRCP with Oracle Database 19c and Node.js. Thank you for watching.